friends. Welcome to Sonido Cumbiaton, a podcast where we talk about arts, culture, politics, and all that mess, but with
an undocumented and queer perspective.
My name is DJ Sizzle, and I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Julio Salgado. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this with a friend, a comadre, your tía, and follow us on social media. Amiga, ¿cómo estás?
Girl, ¿cómo andamos, amiga?
Pues aquí, mira, haciendo un podcast.
Aquí podcasteando, amiga.
Podcasteando, we used to put yards, now we put yards.
Podcast yards.
Podcast yards, that's what we do. How you been, friend?
You know, we out here surviving, thriving amongst the chaos. It's crazy out here, per usual. The horrors persist, but so do we.
Yes.
I'm super excited to be, shooting this amazing episode number 6. Girl, can you believe we're at number 6?
I love it. 666. That's the number. That's our number. I love it. And by the way, you look great. I love that background. The light. Girl, you're glowing. You're looking beautiful. And it makes sense. It's we don't just do things, we do things.
Okay, Miss Ma'am.
Girl. Salió eso. Wait, we're recording at 8:30 in the at night. We usually record in the morning. So if you see a different, we're experimenting here with time, right? What is time? Maybe this is the time that we should be recording. Maybe it is the 8 in the morning call that I do, but maybe not. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
But girl, at night you get the visuals. At night you get the ratatata. You get a little bit of everything. If you hear a siren, if you hear the ghetto bird, girl, that is ambiance. Girl, that is culture. You cannot buy that.
Yeah, es parte de la cultura. Time is a Western construct for capitalism.
Hablando de time, friend, how did you spend your time this weekend? What did you do?
So I went to Pride, but before that, during the week, I did a workshop. Shout out to las profesoras, Erica and Ana. They invited me to Santiago Canyon College in Orange County. And I did art with the youths. And I don't know, now that I get invited to colleges, like the kids are looking more like middle schoolers.
Younger and younger, girl.
Younger and younger.
¿Y
I'm not getting
nosotras?
older. Iguales, nosotras iguales.
Como fine wine.
Exactly. But it's really nice. I never...
Girl, ¿somos como fine wine o somos tepache? Tepache yo.
¿Tepache? Para nada. O sea, claro. I never actually had tepache.
It's interesting.
Is it like kombucha? It's fermented, right?
It's fermented. Think kind of like hooch. It takes a little bit, and
You okay?
and for those of us who don't necessarily know prison lingo, that's just fermented fruit that after a bit you lay it and you let it get fermented, and it this concoction comes up. I'm probably not the best at explaining it because I'm not like a partaker in tepache like that, but anyway, yeah, that's what it is.
By the way, before I go on with my talking about art and colleges, I am into my kombucha life. We're not sponsored by the kombucha. What is this kombucha? Anyways, kombucha, it is my life. It is what it is not. Our producers are asking if it's Astroglide a lube. It is not. It is an empty bottle of kombucha. And I'm into it. It's been good for my gut. It's been good for I don't know what's good for. Apparently, if you drink it, it's good for the diabetics, number. So I'm into it. But that's my kombucha life.
That's cute.
Anyways, so I've been going and doing art talks with the college students, and in this political climate, I've been a little bit, like, can I continue talking openly? And as long as the girls will have me at their colleges, I'm coming in. And something that I said about, like because after later that week, this weekend, I went to Pride. I mentioned that, we're in an era where speaking up is getting us into trouble, but it's a specific people, right? Because this weekend, I went to Pride and the girls with the signs that are like, homo sin is not okay with God and you're going to go to hell. Like the girls were protesting, the girls were there. And I wasn't out here being like, go home. Go like at this point, the girls I'm talking about, right? Like the ones with the sign. You looked at me like I don't know what you're talking about.
No, girl. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but what I was saying is like I'm like I think like they're part of the pride tradition to have homophobes and telling me that I shouldn't be having gay relations. And I went there, I took a picture, a selfie next to them, and I was like, "Girl, you're part of the tradition now." So they just need to work on their art. They just need to work on their posters. It's the same thing over and over. So that's what I did. I went to Pride and I did art with the students. What did you do, girl?
Girl, I am so happy that you got to do that. Especially when LGBTQIA plus folks, our communities are under attack, right? It's super important to continue to come out there and, support one another, hold space, take selfies with the haters. Because, one thing we're not going to do is let them steal our shine, let them steal our queerness. They're not going to make us go back in the closet. So shout out to you and everyone who is out, celebrating Pride in the next few weeks, in the next few months. I'm super excited as we're also going to be partaking in some Pride activities, which we will be sharing towards the end of our podcast here. But this weekend, I was fortunate enough to be invited by our friends at Ritmos Tropicosmos to play for my first ever movie theater performance. It was really cool because we got to premiere my boo's film. It's the first ever anime cumbia film called La Curandera Cumbiambera, produced by Ivan Flores and John. I'm so sorry, John. I'm forgetting your last name, but they go by Shark Eats Me on Instagram, and it is the first ever cumbia sci-fi. Film that he and his friend made. And I'll share the link so y'all can check it out. It's produced by them with all original music, directed by them as well. And it was really cool. It was like, again, my first time playing in a movie theater. And it was my first time experiencing a band in a movie theater. So it was really dope. I'm super happy that, we got a chance to, just be able to do that with our friends. And hopefully we'll be able to do that once again, whether in the Bay or in Los Angeles. And, we got to hang out also with Jesus and our friends Lupe. And, it's so crazy because now we're getting into our Señora era, right? If you are familiar with Mel's Diner, whether it's in LA or the Bay Area, it's like a 24-hour diner where, you go there after hours right after you get out the club. Girl, I love me a good diner, right? It's breakfast all day or, some chicken fried steak. And as we're pulling up, I'm like, man, I remember about 8, 10 years ago, I was at Mel's Diner at, like 2, 3 in the morning under very different circumstances, right? Completely different circumstances than the ones we were at this time around, right? And the game plan was like get some food and then go, party or go to an arcade, something like that, right? We only made it to the food part, and then everyone was like, wait. Yeah, me duele la rodilla, me duele la espalda. Yeah, we're tired, girl. It's time for us to go to sleep. But it's been so crazy because I'm like, oh my goodness, right? Like it's been such a shift to see us, right, transition into our Senora era, right? I got to hang out with Yossi, Reina, and our friends Travis as well. And, we had a little kiki moment as well. And it was just super chill. We went out for some wine, little bites, but igual, we were like, you know what, girls, it's 11. We all got to get home, and kind of rest. So I don't know. I think it's really beautiful to be able to see how, again, we're transitioning into this era of like calmness, this era of like, we're not turning up all crazy as we used to. And, just kind of talking about about like life circumstances, and we can share a little bit more of that as we get into our conversation. But I also randomly, I'm so sorry if you hear little pitter patters. That is my dog, and she's super excited. She just bolted in here, so I'm so
She's part
sorry
of the
if you
pod.
heard that.
She's part of the
It's
pod.
it's part of the ambiance. Lastly, I did do a mix for Los Angeles Azules on K-Love 107.5. And, it was super cute. My mom and I recorded it, kind of on a whim. And we're like, well, let's just do it. Although we didn't win the contest, we had a lot of fun. We had so much fun recording it. And if y'all remember during the quarantine days, the Panini days, my mom and I used to come on IG Live and stream. So we definitely want to get back into that because, it's something that we both kind of miss, while I'm playing music. That's kind of like how I remember my younger DJing days, right? Playing music. My love for cumbia comes from my mom, right? So she gave me that, and to be able to play music while she dances or she does her thing, she sings. It's honestly so beautiful. But once again, unfortunately, we didn't get it. But you know what, Julio? The way I think about it is rejection is redirection.
100%, 100%. And listen, that is a segue to our next segment about rejection. Our next guest has been doing memes about how this country has been rejecting us, girl, forever, even though we give the best of ourselves, but maybe not all of it. Let's not give them that much credit. But for today's guest, we have Maria from Y Tienes Papeles. Maria, can you join us? Hello. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Maria uses hello.
Hello, another senora has joined the chat.
We
Yes,
love this.
girl.
We love this. We love this. Just a quick introduction. Maria uses memes. If you haven't seen the page Y Tiene Papeles, you should. Sizzle and I are constantly sharing the memes that you create, Maria. But Maria creates memes that cause some of the BS that undocumented folks have to deal within, this country via biting memes and some political humor during a time where we all can do is fucking laugh. Maria, welcome. And tell us about who you are and how did you get started, in the migrant rights movement. And thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you all. Um, I love seeing the behind the scenes, so it's been fun.
Maria has been waiting for us. We were supposed to start 30 minutes ago, but we were all getting it together. But you saw the magic that goes behind making a podcast.
Yeah, I think that's important to acknowledge like the work that
Uh,
happens, it's not just what people see on when they click the YouTube video. There's work that happens behind the scenes. So, no worries. I'm here for it. Pero, so I guess girl, I've been having this identity since forever, so I don't know. That's how I got started.
But wait, Maria, where did the name Y Tiene Papeles come from? Can we start there? Because I love
yes.
that name.
Yeah, so it's a question. Y tiene papeles, and even like my little IG picture is kind of me thinking or wondering. And it came from just the once I so my page started as a sad girl page. And then once I was ready to go into the dating stuff, when I would talk to family members about it or friends about it, I think that was something that would come up very quickly, and whether they were undocumented or had status. And so that's where that name came from. Like it was a question.
Oh, girl, we're all familiar with that question. And I love it, which is why I'm like, when I first saw your Instagram, I was like, ¿Y tienes papeles? Like, let's be real, right? Particularly within the undocu scene, it's one of the questions that comes up all the time as it relates to dating, right? So I want to hear a little bit more about like what your dating experience, has been like through the page, and, just kind of give us a little bit more of like, what the reception of other undocumented folks has been to the page itself and yourself.
Yeah, so if people have been around, like they saw that the evolvement of my page and as I evolved, along with it as well. And because I was always just so like I transparent of my experience in the dating world. So it started off again, like I said, sad girl page. And then once I saw that people were connecting to it or connecting to my dark humor, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I feel like there's this tendency to feel like we're alone in this kind of situation.
Hmm.
And once I started receiving that kind of feedback from folks that were, um, um, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No,
Gravitate
it's okay.
towards Why gravitate towards dark humor. I
Yeah,
saw
no,
that and I was like, ah, okay.
So, no, it's okay. So
Um,
maybe Julio, do you want to start off with the question so that Maria can pick it back up?
yeah, no, I love what you just said right now, Maria, about being yourself. I think one of the reasons why people gravitate to Sizzle or like, gravitate to my art and whenever I put myself in social media, and also, the work that we did with Dreamers Adrift with Jesus or and Pablo as well was in a lot of the videos. We were ourselves. We were not acting. We are just putting our thoughts out there. And for us as people who are undocumented, right? There's something to be said about the fear of being ourselves, right? And that includes our messiness, but also our humor. And I'm wondering, has there been a moment that you created or a meme and people were like, "Okay, girl, you've gone too far. Maybe that's not funny enough. Why are you laughing at something that is so serious in the community?" Have you had experiences like that?
oh yeah, definitely. Um, well, you all just talked about the good immigrant, bad immigrant narrative. When I started being very explicit about my position with that narrative and how it is very harmful, a lot of people took it as like, why would you talk bad about, the students? Or why would you talk bad about like, people that are pursuing a career in law enforcement? Or why would you talk about people pursuing, like military, joining the military, stuff like that? And like legitimately people felt offended by my content and me kind of pushing back against this good immigrant narrative. But it just felt like we have been kind of placed in this paradigm of you can only stay in this, good immigrant box.
Hmm.
And anything beyond that, anything outside of that is bad. So um I have definitely, like, people have told me like you're taking it too far. People love to announce their exit. So telling me I'm gonna unfollow you, like if that really does anything to me, I'm like, okay, well, good riddance, ma'am, because that's not the type of, you're not gonna be happy with my content, and um, clearly, you can just head out real quick.
I love how the self-importance, right? Like again, God forbid you use humor as a way to deal with a lot of the trauma that has occurred to us. I remember a couple of years ago there was a version of the Dream Act where it was only the military component of it. And my immediate thought was like, fuck that. And I made this drawing of a dreamer, like the cap and gown and giving the middle finger. And the girls got mad at me. They were like, you can show us like, doing bad things. And I'm like, but that's a fair reaction. And I think that through your memes, like a lot of the memes that you create are things that a lot of us are thinking about, but you are brave enough to kind of make a meme. What's your process like behind the creation of the memes?
A lot of it is like what's current,
Hmm.
like what's happening currently. There's a lot of things happening right now. So there's a lot of ideas that I just pick up. And then like I think earlier I sent you like that we like that little dog meme where it's like, this is fine. I feel like that's me every single day
Yeah.
of being in a room that's on fire and just, sitting down like, okay, I gotta keep doing my job and pretending like everything's okay, but really the world is set on fire.
Com
So I kind of base it off like current events. I know I just posted one about, Mr. Joe Biden that I
Oh
think a
my God,
lot
I
of
haven't
people,
seen it. Wait.
yeah, I think a lot of people were not um, totally happy with it,
Girl, but it's okay. It's dark
but it's
humor.
okay.
You
Yeah,
know, it's
I
dark humor,
stir
and that's how we cope.
I stir the pot, and that's okay. You'll see. Ándale, así.
It's this idea that you can't make fun of the elders, but also like the people who are supposed to be on our side, and it's like no, nobody.
Mhm.
Nobody, Jesus is like, chatting us, our producers is chatting, is like, I just saw the meme, LOL. It's what everybody's is thinking about. Well, I have more questions, but Sissel, jump in.
Yeah, so Maria, we know that, you started off kind of as almost sharing a dating funny perspective, but then it got really like political, obviously because our lives are political and we can't ever truly just skirt away from that. Like it's always there no matter how we try to flip it, work it, and reverse it, right? So I'm
Mhm.
wondering like how has this kind of like affected your dating, current relationship. And if you want to share a little bit more about that, I know Julio has more questions on that, but I'm wondering, right, like how has a platform bolstered or affected your relationship, if at all?
I think that for well, I've had the page since 2017 or
Mhm.
so, 2016 maybe. And obviously when like the first Trump administration happened. And I know I feel like the men that I dated would just kind of tolerate my my views, my politics. Like they would just kind of tolerate it, but they weren't engaging so much. And I almost kind of accepted it because I felt like, well, not everyone is going to be, as politically involved as I am. And um, but that all that ended when the last person that I dated before my now husband confessed to me that he was a Trump supporter or that he voted Trump. Yeah, girl, I was upset because he had gone. I organized like conferences. I organized, like in docu conferences that he showed up to, that he was supportive of. And so when that happened, I was like, well, broke it off immediately. And I was like, okay, I can't do that anymore. Like I need to vet these fools. Which is now what I'm telling people is like that's one of the first questions that you should ask when you're going, even before you go in on the date. Like
Yeah.
you need to ask like their political affiliation, like their views. It's no longer like this discreet, like, oh, when was the last time you vacation outside of the US? Like it's no longer like these subtle things. It's very straightforward for me now. Or what I, what I kind of encourage undocumented folks to say on their first dates or their interactions with people, even friendships.
Mm.
So yeah, after that experience, I was like, no way, like I'm not gonna tone myself down. I'm gonna be very straightforward and I'm gonna be looking out for that type of stuff. Cause when I started thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I think the red flags were there. And I just was, kind of like again toning myself down where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe they're different than me. They're US citizens, so they don't see it the way that I
Girl, but sometimes it'd be hard because they be cute. And like, I remember when I was, don't listen, it happens. When I was in college, I dated this man. He was like 6'2". look like a chubby Mario Lopez. Girl, I'm in love after the second date. And then like on the third date in, like he was asking me like, oh, why don't you have a driver's license? I was like, oh, well, I don't have papers. And then he was like, oh, you're one of those illegals. And then I was like, how dare you? But I still saw him 2 times after that.
Tanto pinche vato.
Girl,
Tanto pinche vato y te vas con toda la mugre.
the heart wants what the heart wants, and the
No,
body wants what the body wants sometimes. Politics. In my head, I was like, maybe I can change the way that, because come on, we all, like,
yeah.
and not just about politics, but when
We've
we
all tried to change a man.
exactly. So, now it's fucked up that already on top of being, like watching for red flags. Now you have to look up what politics are you from, or what are you
What are
voting
your
for?
stance? Yeah.
Damn, girl.
No,
It's
but I think
hard
that's
out
really
there.
important though, because at the same time, you want to be safe. You want to keep your family safe, especially if you're going to bring them around. You want to keep your friends safe, right? You want to keep your community safe. And one way that you can proactively do that is by closing up. They want to put up walls on our people. You could put up walls on, yourself, girl. Like close that bussy, close that piri 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 piri. I'm not going to go in there. Maybe we could bleep that out. But no, girl,
Don't.
we're not doing that. We are going on strike. It's 2025, okay? We're not doing that anymore. We are not tolerating bigots, racists, none of that, girl. Like, not even, girl, if you don't support like migrants, no, you can't have a taco. No, you can't have a pupusa. Absolutely not. Not on
You
my
can
time.
you can have this pupusa.
You cannot have this pupusa, girl. Uh-uh.
I love and Maria, you're what I love about, because I remember when when before you met your current husband, you would go off on the Instagrams and like talk about, like, even I was it you that would like post screenshots of conversations?
Yes. Yes. Yes,
It's
absolutely. That's
scandalous.
me because I love to drag them.
Hmm.
And several of them followed me like on both my like private and public page, and I would post it on all of them because again, like I'm very transparent. So whatever I basically post on my public, like I'm posting it on on my private. And if they followed me on that one, they knew I was talking my shit. So um yeah,
Yeah.
porque I say like, how do y'all say these? Like, how do y'all not think about what you say before you say it?
Is this idea that like, oh no, but you're different. You're the one. You might be part of this communities that I hate, but you're different. But now you're like in a different place in your life. Ella es una señora casada, and you've been very open about your journey on your adjustment of status. Do you want to talk a little more about that? Like, it's I'm also kind of beginning that process, and it's like it's scary to be so public about it. But I do watch a lot of TikToks and people kind of like explaining what to expect when you're going to do the interview.
Mhm.
Why are you so open about that journey? ¿No te da miedo?
Mhm. I always, I don't know if this is, I actually don't know if I've been cursing at all. I kind of just thought about this, pero my dad would always tell me que el miedo te pendeja.
True.
So I kind of live by that. O sea, cuando I think it's normal to feel fear, like it's a totally normal reaction, especially in the world that we live in. Pero siempre, I always go back to that. And it's like, if you allow fear to consume you, what will it prevent you from doing? What are the consequences of you keeping that fear within you? So to me, I think I've been open about it because, like you said, I've seen TikToks of people explaining it or just videos, but they never really document the process
Mhm.
of. I feel like it's very much like afterwards, like ya que lo hicieron. And I thought that because people have been seeing my entire kind of journey, I felt like it was only fair. And I thought that I still think that it's a really good thing that I started because soon afterwards, people started messaging me and saying like, hey, I'm talking about, doing a quick wedding. I called mine El Bodorrio Express. And I'm like, I'm thinking of doing the same. Like, what should I expect? What should so people started connecting with me and even sending like tips, you
Yeah.
know, tips on the process. Um, so I thought that it was like a good opportunity for to share the experience, share resources, and then to also receive.
Yeah.
So
That that
I
is so important in like all of this, just processes and like what we're going through, right? As a community of undocumented, documented migrant people, right? To be able to like talk to one another and skill share, and maybe not necessarily skill share, but tip share, right? Because a lot of this stuff can be really taboo, right? Like we
yeah.
don't necessarily want to talk about the things that, as you're saying, bring us fear. But I'm interested, Maria, in also like hearing what this community of undocu cuties has developed into, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about your meetup and like the community that you're fostering through the undocu cuties?
yeah, so I started um, creating meetups, and honestly, it was inspired by undocumented professionals.
Mm.
Before the pandemic, Charette used to do just like networking events, and they were really really. I never went to one. I was going to host one before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, y ya no se hizo. Pero I kind of circled back with her because I was thinking like I want to do something like that, but not so. I felt like I didn't want to make it formal. I didn't want to have it be like college, graduates or like I was literally like, homies come through, and so I started that um I think it was 2023, and it was literally like we're gonna meet in, this restaurant in Oakland, and I had a really, really beautiful turnout, and a lot of the girls are like paralegals. They're very involved, like doing advocacy work and, in like through like a legal field. And so I thought that was beautiful of like how they found each other, or like some of them already knew each other from different settings. So that's how that started. And then because yo andaba de vaga, right? Like up and down the state. I was like, oh, let me just like pop into, LA and do one, and let me pop into Santa Ana and do one, and San Diego and do one. So I started doing that. And then this summer, I'm going to be doing one like up north. I'm going to be doing a few up north. I'm going to do a road trip because airports are not the safest at this time. So we're doing a road trip, and I'm gonna be doing like one in Oregon, Seattle, Eastern Washington, Denver. So I'm excited about that and just kind of expanding, and then and see like who I can meet. I think it's been a beautiful community that I've built.
It's beautiful. I love it. And, I know that you've also done some in Cumbiaton, no? Like have people come through to Cumbiaton. And
Yeah.
so, girl, we love it. We love all the parties. We're here for it. We're here for it. And we're so happy, and we hope that you continue doing the memes. Gives us live, every single time that I'm like, oh, there's a new Y tiene Papeles memes and, quick to share. So, I think we're going to move on to our next segment, in this sort of spirit of things that are making us happy, like meetups and, like memes. We have a segment called, what's giving us, joy and especially like in pop culture. Sizzle, do you have something that is giving you that joy, that no sé qué, que no te que te saca de la cama?
My reason to go on in this crazy ass
Girl,
world.
that part.
Girl, speaking of which, Maria, she's an expert memeologist. Okay. I don't know if that's a word, but
You just
I
need it.
relate to your memes
For
so
me.
much. You have one of this little dog just kind of tired, like me existing in America or something like that. And I'm like, bitch, same, because that's how I feel a lot of the time, right? Like it's a drag to wake up in the morning and open up your phone and see all this crazy, like, news, developments, todo lo que está haciendo the 45th, what is happening overseas, todo, right? And it is so incredibly hard to keep pushing through and acting like, we're not living almost like in a apocalyptic twilight zone. But one
Wow.
of the things that has kept me super grounded and that has, for years done that for me is music, right? Which is why you are seeing me come back more into DJing, right? The little recording live streams or the YouTube that I do with, and with like the cumbia mixes with my mommy, right? I'm a Cancer. I'm super nostalgic. So all of the songs that you will hear will always like have some sort of root in like, songs from our past, right? I really enjoy listening to like old school jams. I mean, obviously oldies in English, but also oldies in Spanish. Some of my favorite artists, I know I sent you a song the other day, Julio, and we were both like, we started like, in ugly crying in our feelings. Roberto Carlos, Amigo, right? Jose Jose, Joan Sebastian, Celia Cruz, Toto La Momposina, Ana Gabriel, right? Those songs that you could really just like sing, right? Your Señora playlist, you put
Girl.
it on, you cook con tu vinito. What, I know, Julio, what is your kind of like song of choice or Maria as well, right? Some of those songs that kind of put you in those moods, whether you're cleaning, you're cooking, having a little girl moment. What are some of those that, you all love to enjoy?
I mean, I can go. I mean, Maricela, like every single Maricela song that you'll play, like how it's like ingrained in it. Speaking of men, like Maricela has like a catalog of music of the men that like just broke her heart. But every single Maricela song, it like puts me on. It whether it's cleaning, whether it's drawing for me. It's like I need music and I'll have my moments of señora with Marisela. Oof, can go wrong, Marisela.
I think for me it is anything Juanga.
Boom.
Juanga is like he's just a vibe. I can't believe I miss what like seeing him live before he passed. And I just watched a short documentary about him too. So he reminds me of my mom a lot and how like the music that she would play when she would, be cleaning on Saturday mornings and stuff. So Juanga for sure.
Yeah, girl. I'm like, how did Mother Juanga not make it into my list of people that we are singing to? Because Juanga, okay, listen, I feel like there's a few, maybe like five, maybe I would say 10 Mexican singers, right? That just kind of come for and like they are kind of like our Marvin Gaye's. They are our version of, Smokey Robinson, right? And Juanga is definitely one of those folks. I had the privilege of seeing him second to last concert he did in Los Angeles right before he transitioned. And I will never forget, porque andaba, I was heartbroken. I was going through it, girl. But being there and like singing along, I took my mom y estábamos cantando, right? But then the people next to us too, like it was just an emotional release that I think people sometimes don't necessarily take into account, or a veces no lo pensamos because you're not necessarily thinking about, as you're singing and as you're, enjoying the concert, you're not seeing that this music is healing you. And I feel that that's one of the things that, I am so grateful as a DJ to be able to do on the dance floor, but also to share songs with other folks. And again, as we're speaking of Senora Era, I'm like, I just love how, now we're going into these moments where we're like, wow, girl, look at us. Look at how far we're coming. Ya no andamos así de ratatata. But from time to time,
A
si nos
veces se
entra,
antoja.
A
A
a
veces se
veces
veces,
antoja.
sí,
a
se
veces.
vale.
Julio, I know you were also, I don't know if this is a movie or a book that you recently saw.
I'm currently reading this book called "Let the Record Show: A Political History of ACT UP New York." by Sarah Schulman. ACT UP was this, grassroots organization called that stood for AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, and they did those silence equal death, slogans during the AIDS pandemic, right? And so epidemic, and I really enjoy what is bringing me, me dio como una cachetada or something, because this was a time where, people were dying and they were fucking organizing, right? And similar to many other, movements, there was a lot of disagreements, but at the end of the day, they were like, nah, our time is, it's se nos va a ir rápido, right? And so reading that book is really making me see things into perspective. And I know shit is fucked up right now, but we need to remember that we come from, a resilient, queer immigrant, because ACT UP was also made up of like a lot of black and brown women, a lot of like straight people that were supporting the movement, and they use art a lot to call attention to this. So that book, I recommend it to anyone who's like feeling some type of way, especially fellow undocus. Like, let's read what people were doing, and a lot of them are not here anymore, but they've left these documents, right? And so that is bringing me joy. How about you, Maria? Let's close it with you. What are you watching or listening to that is bringing you joy right now?
Yeah, I don't know if you all have watched Sinners yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
It's
I
on my
actually,
to-do list for this weekend.
Watch it. Go
awesome.
right now.
You
Click
have to
off and
go.
go watch it.
I want
I'm
to.
actually going to rewatch it because like I have the friends that haven't watched. I'm like, oh, pues yo me voy con ustedes because I actually don't mind rewatching. I feel like I learn more or like catch things that I haven't, that I didn't catch the first time. So, definitely once I saw, well, first of all, Michael B. Jordan twice. Son dos. I'm like, I gotta be there, you know? But then, seeing like who produced it, Ryan Coogler, and
Yeah.
because luego me dio la sospecha. I'm like, what is this movie where white people are the evil ones? So, then
Baby,
just
that's not a movie. That's a real life.
I mean, I'm saying, yeah, but you know how they pretend like a lot of the movies obviously show them as like these heroes and the good guys and stuff. So when you see a movie doing the opposite, you're like, oh, who made this? And obviously Ryan Coogler did Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And kind of throwing a twist in there where it's vampires.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Go watch it, Sizzle. I agree. Like after, and stay for the movie. Stay until the credits. That's all I'm gonna say. Stay for the credits.
Yes.
But yeah, The Sinners, amazing, amazing movie. Well, Maria, thank you so much for joining us today. You're our second official guest. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything that you're working on? Anything that you want to be like, hey, people come through?
Yes. So I mentioned I still don't know what I'm gonna call it, pero my tour that I'm doing up north and into I'm going all places. I think I'm gonna be traveling for like 2 weeks or so.
We love it.
Up north to Oregon, Seattle, Eastern Washington, Denver. I'm gonna go to Montana. Sizzle, I always see your videos of like you being in nature and you inspire me to go.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you.
I'm gonna go live that life for these 2 weeks. So just being in the mountains, in fresh air. So I'm really excited. So if people, in those areas want to come through and meet up, that's kind of my next big project.
Beautiful.
That
Well,
sounds
have
so
fun and be
exciting.
safe out there.
I will. It's a lot of white people out there. I'll say that. Da
Girl.
tantito miedo.
Not after watching Sinners.
I know.
Like
Okay.
we got the
We're not
shit.
putting that energy out.
No, you're
Exactly.
gonna have fun. You're gonna be out in nature. You're gonna reconnect, reground, and continue to build community. So thank you, Maria, again for joining us. As Julio mentioned, you have been such an amazing second guest for our humble but really awesome podcast, Sonido Cumbiaton, here with Julio Salgado and yours truly. Once again, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please go ahead and do so now. Please follow us on social media at Cumbiaton_LA. As also Sonido Cumbiaton. And you can also follow Maria on tiene Papeles on Instagram and on TikTok. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Boom.
And please send her a message if y'all are trying to link up for her tour. She's great vibes. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And she comes through with the dark and amazing humor that we all love. So muchísimas gracias once again, Maria. Thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully we get to see you either at a Cumbiaton or another Undocu Cutie meetup.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nos vemos en el dance floor.
Yes.
See
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Adios.
No le hablen a sus exes.
No.